And we're live. Good morning, everyone. I'm back again. My name is Brandon Lovejoy. I'm joined by Brandon Fancher of the Clarion team, and we're here to bring you another exciting update on the latest with EdenOS and all the related stuff. So, Brandon, how are you today?
Doing good, doing well. Yeah, just a bit recharged after a long weekend with the family at the beach and back at it. Of course, I'm thoroughly excited, extremely excited about everything that's transpired in the last couple of weeks with EdenOS and just the whole community in general. And we'll be digging into a little bit of that today, but it's a good day.
Awesome. I'm excited for whatever goodies or sneak peeks you have to share with us. I'll just wait patiently. Yeah, anything you want to open up with before we get into your presentation, or should we just bring that right up and get moving?
No, we might as well kick off the presentation here and see what convo comes out of that.
All right, bring it.
Nice. So if you joined us before, this is familiar EdenOS development updates. So as you guys know, every 2 weeks we meet here at this time to discuss several things. We show off progress from the last 2 weeks. Sometimes we demo, sometimes we just talk about it. We discuss what we're working on next, talk about any updates to the roadmap that we have, and of course, answer any questions that you guys might have here. So if you've got questions, yeah, post those in the chat. And if you don't have questions, start thinking of questions so that you have questions. The disclaimer here is, guys, when we talk about roadmap, when we start projecting into the future, we see in part and we know in part, right? So don't take any of this as gospel, but just realize that we're excited about where we've been, where we are, and what's coming, and we want to be able to talk freely and transparently about all of those things. But roadmaps, those are of course subject to change. And some of you guys, if you're new to this call, welcome. We're really glad to have you here. If you're new to Eden or just want to learn more about EdenOS and what we're doing with fractal governance, which, by the way, is not just a blockchain thing, and it's not just a technology thing. It's all about how people come to consensus. You can do it with blockchains. You can do it with a deck of playing cards. If you want to learn more, here's how to do that. So first off, go to EdenOnEOS.com. And that's actually changed. We got the EdenOnEOS.com domain, Lovejoy.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we were using EdenEOS.org before. Now we have EdenOnEOS.com. And so lots of great resources there. Our friend Ray put together a really nice website for the community with all sorts of goodies. If you want to know a little bit more up to date, what's going on in the development efforts, more resources from the community, for the community, etc., we do have a public Eden Wiki that is available on Notion. So go to wiki.eoscommunity.org. And actually, one that's not listed here, you can go to forum. I think it's forum.eoscommunity.org, or is that plural? Forums. It's forums, plural.eoscommunity.org. Join in on the conversation there. And we're on Telegram too. You can join in on the convo in Telegram. And then we have our GitHub. Our GitHub is a great place to go if you're more technically inclined. You can see the code as it's flying. Everything is open source. You can see our pull requests, the issues that we have logged. You can log issues if you run into any problems, or even just have any ideas, put those in there. And then we've got a nice little Kanban project board that is more or less up to date there with what we have in our backlog and what we're doing and what's done. Any other resources we should call out, Lovejoy?
Nothing off the top of my head. You are, as usual, very thorough. So I think you hit all the right notes.
I hope
there.
That's not code for long-winded.
No, not at all. You gave me time to be a moderator in the a little excessively lively comment section. So that was good. Thanks for buying me some time.
It's getting a little rowdy out there.
It's getting a little rowdy out there. Yeah, it's a little wild world. Bring it on. Roadmap.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Roadmap. If you guys have been here, you've seen this slide before. We are on the green dot. That's the important part. Okay. You can see the line coming out of the green dot is a few pixels to the right. I would say the same thing here. It's starting to get into that VO3 enhanced elections. Guys, nice. Just a recap here. V01 community formation, right? That's behind us. And we continue to iterate. We continue on improving things, but that was all about, just getting the invitation engine, the membership engine stood up for Eden. And we have been working the last couple of months on V02 right in the middle, which is about getting our first on-chain elections going, getting the funding, creating the preconditions for funding flowing, right? And scheduling an election. And of course, in the last 2 weeks, that's a lot of the big news that we have to share. Is a lot of those things are coming to fruition thanks to our efforts, but thanks to efforts from the community, right? And a lot of great people doing a lot of great things out there. We'll get into that a little bit more. Of course, we've got our enhancements to elections and accounting, and even enhancements, right, to the invitation and induction process coming in V03, which we really haven't started on in earnest yet. And then from there, right, blue sky, community administration, all sorts of ideas. With V02, the milestone that we're currently working on, well, surprise, right? October 9th, Saturday, October 9th, 1300 UTC. Is our first official on-chain Eden election. Super excited about that. V02 has been so far about delivering on our normal, 6 months election cycle. So regularly scheduled elections will happen every 6 months. We have now exposed, right, the ability for our members to opt in and opt out of that election. So if you haven't done that yet, go to EdenOS and go opt in. If you can't make it, that's fine. But we are asking everybody in the community to either opt in or opt out and let us know. It's kind of like an RSVP. We want to know if you're coming. We want to know if you can't make it. And we realize, right, that not everybody can join in, but the more the merrier, and there's a lot of opportunity here. We're going to be using Bitcoin. We've already got this working. It's actually shipped. It's just we're not in an election right now, so you don't see it in the UI, but we're using Bitcoin entropy to randomize everybody into our fractal hierarchical election groups. So some really advanced, cool stuff going on there. Cryptographically verifiable randomness, right? Zoom links. Okay, so you look like you want to say something, Lovejoy. Chime in.
No, I'm just going to say that 10 times fast. Cryptographically verifiable randomness.
Randomness.
Hierarchical, fractal. We've got all the words. You're very good with words.
We do.
Keep going. I don't want to slow you down.
Oh, yeah. So, yes, the cryptographically verifiable randomness we've got going here. Zoom links. A lot of the difficulty, right, in coordinating this. There's a lot of moving parts running an election with this many people in this many groups, and so we're really trying to make our UI do as much of the heavy lifting there as possible. And one of the things that it's going to do, as long as we can get the approval from Zoom and the app marketplace, we'll talk about that soon. Is that the UI will generate well, technically will help you as the members generate Zoom meeting links with most of the settings set properly, and help disseminate those to the participants in the group. And yeah, voting, of course, on-chain voting, video uploads, a simple funding distribution mechanism to those who do become delegates as a result of the election. And of course, the ability to see who your representatives are after the election. Anybody, if you have questions, Lovejoy, feel free to interrupt me at any time. Otherwise,
I think
we'll zoom through this.
Just stunned silence so far from our 10 viewers. Just people just soaking it in, taking it in. There's a lot to digest here. I'm still at cryptographically verifiable randomness. I had to tweet that out.
Well, a lot of this, guys, is review too. We go through the same. I value repetition here, and you know, I like to show you where things have changed in my slide deck from week to week. So yeah, I'm sorry, a lot of this is just review. Now, all of this slide pretty much is new. Okay, so V02 is released. We already talked about it. Saturday, October 9th, 2021, 1300 UTC. We also released a new UI layout, a new design. What do you think of the new look and feel of EdenOS?
I love it.
Yeah,
I think
a little more polished, I think.
I was just looking at the screen, actually. The layout changed entirely, and it's very easy on the eyes. Looks really friendly.
Yeah.
Makes me want to click buttons, do things.
On mobile, we've got a little bottom tab bar, and we've got a sidebar on. We have a lot of vision for EdenOS, and there's a lot of things that we want to polish, but we have got a small team. We've got like 6 of us working on this stuff, and sometimes we put off some of that polish to get the functionality, and then we come back around and we polish. And I'm really happy that we were able to circle back and do a little bit of that polish for this V02 release. We got a few fixes, of course, and performance enhancements in there as well. Now, what are we still working on for V02? And that's really this in progress section. So we're working on exposing global views into ongoing elections and hierarchies. We actually, for that, are using some of this really cool blocks to browser technology that Todd Fleming has been pioneering in our group, where we actually send blockchain, EOS.io blockchain blocks directly to your browser, and the browser looks at the blocks as events and then figures out, it derives the state that is then displayed to you in the UI. We're using that for this global views into the ongoing elections and hierarchies that we're working on. But the cool thing is we're actually already using that in the UI now today in a very kind of small beta testy way. But if you go to the homepage, EdenOS, and you look at the opt-in section on the homepage, you'll see the number of people participating. And that number doesn't exist anywhere in EOS on-chain tables, but that has been derived using this system, using blocks streaming to your browsers, right? It's been derived from all those events of opt-ins and opt-outs that are replayed into account. So we're already starting to use that a little well. Yeah, thanks, Joshua. He says, love the new UX. Good. I'm glad to hear that. We are, like I said, we're navigating the Zoom app marketplace app review process. So part of the way that we're trying to smooth out some of the complexity around getting everybody video links is creating a little lightweight Zoom app, and that has to be submitted to their marketplace. And of course, they want to make sure that we're not misusing their brand, and that it's going to provide an experience that doesn't make them look bad, that it's compliant with all their terms of service and all of that. So there's always risks with that. We are not completely and utterly dependent on Zoom. If they decide that they're not. We actually haven't submitted it yet. We're submitting it hopefully today. We've been working the last really 2 weeks on just getting all those ducks in a row and ticking off, everything on their checklist that we have to do to prepare for that. But in the event that they didn't approve us, we've got fallbacks. We've got various UI compromises that we can make that still delivers a lot of the goodies and keeps us moving forward. So one of our mantras, right, is, it's in Dan's book, More Equal Animals. If you haven't read that, get a copy of that. We want to really protect and promote the independence, including our technical independence of the Eden community here. So we like to use a lot of these nice to haves if we can, as long as we don't become beholden to them, right? And then we're adding polish. We need to get in there. We've got on our list to add some explainers, more frequently asked questions in our UI. I know there are a lot of people who have a lot of questions out there. Keep the questions coming. We're beginning to go back through those and distill those into facts that we can expose directly in our UI. And of course, testing. We continue to test. We want to make sure that our October 9th election goes off without a hitch. But we do have more testing to do there.
Excellent. So much going on.
Yeah.
You guys, do you, I know you took a long weekend, but do you sleep otherwise?
Sometimes. It's really cool because this is so engaging. It's so much fun for us. We're getting to work on things that really kind of tick off all of the check boxes of what motivates you. We're working on things that can make the world a better place and all of that. That, I'll be honest, a lot of us go to bed thinking about this. We dream about it. We wake up thinking about it. Think about it in the shower. We can get a little obsessive probably, but but we also, we do these things because we want to make a better world for ourselves, for our communities, for our families. And so sometimes you have to go on a beach trip with the family and tap into those things that really are the reasons why we do all of this in the first place.
Mm-hmm. It's important.
Yeah, it is. Remain grounded.
Perspective. Groundedness, yes.
Yeah. So, all right. Guys, we're Zooming today. Before we get into more of the discussion and announcements here, of course, you've seen this slide before. If you've been here before, what's coming ahead, things like the ability to move election dates up based on certain events that might happen. There are certain triggers, right, that trigger early elections. Annual dues, detailed accounting in our UI of how funds are flowing within, throughout, and inflows and outflows of funds in the community. Of course, enhancing our views into current and past election results. Internal funds transfers and incentives for keeping funds in the community when at all possible. And election NFTs, possibly inline chat. We're also looking at how do we improve the inductions process. A lot of people come in, either confused about or asking about, how do I become a member? And all the more as of late with some of the incentives that we'll talk about that are there for becoming a member. And our UI, I think, could do a better job of walking people through that process. One of the really great ideas that Dan brought up with us that, we have other priorities right now, but this is in our backlog now, is making sure that people in our UI can create their profile and even donate as part of their application to become a member. So that then if you want to help people into the community, you have a backlog in our UI of people's profiles that you can reach out to as a member and help walk them through the process. So there are certain things we can be doing to smooth that out. That's one of the things that V03, V04, V0 future kind of deal that we want to do.
All right.
Yeah. Stats. So 200,000 EOS, okay? A big shout out to the EOS community, to Yves LaRose, to EOS Foundation, all the people who are on the board there, of course to the block producers, to everybody who's been working together to make this possible. But EOS Foundation has announced a 200,000 EOS grants to the Eden community as part of what will be dispersed out of the results of this upcoming election in October. They are also going to be granting 200 EOS to the community treasury per Eden member who joins before the election. So since then, we've had 17 new members join. We've got 20 members who are pending and going through the invitation process. So guys, you're doing a great job of inviting people, helping people come into the community. Keep doing that, because that only increases the treasury that's going to be the basis for our monthly distribution or disbursement to the delegates from our election.
A quick point of clarity on that. Maybe it's made clear somewhere else, but I wasn't sure. Now, is this just for members that join between whenever that announcement was and the election, or does it backdate to all members? Is it for like every single member that has joined Eden?
Yeah, that's a good question. The way I read it is that it was really an incentive from the announcement onward to get people into the community, as it increased urgency. So the way I read it is that it's from the date of the announcement to the end of, to when the election is. But no, I think that's something we need to get clarity on for sure. The answer really is I'm not 100% sure on that.
Yeah, I mean, it won't really change the motivation one way or the other. I mean, it would just mean a little extra money in the kitty for all the people who have already joined. But yeah, we'll stay tuned to see what the answer is to that.
Another point of clarity there is there's also been some confusion about, we've had people coming in saying, how do I join? How do I join? I want to get my 200 EOS. I hear I get 200 EOS if I join Eden, right? And no, that's not what this is. That's not what it's about. You're not going to, get EOS just for, swooping in at the right time and filling out some paperwork. We are looking for people who want to participate in fractal governance, fractal on-chain, hierarchical governance with cryptographically verifiable randomness.
It's too much. Stop saying that. It's too much. I can't handle it.
No, we're looking for people who want to participate in this, and this 200 EOS per person goes into the treasury, and then what's going to happen from there is when you participate in the elections and you come, prepared with how you intend to spend those funds and why you want to be a delegate, and you convince people to vote you in as a delegate, then you are going to get a portion distributed to you of that community chest monthly. So if we've got 250,000 EOS sitting in that community chest, then I need a diagram for this, but go to the treasury page and you can read about it. 5% of that 250,000 EOS is distributed monthly in equal swaths to each level of delegation, and then further subdivided within each level among all of the delegates in that level. And so, for the top couple of levels, this is game-changing fundage, right? This is funds that can really help you build some amazing things. It's not not trivial, not insignificant, but we do a 5% disbursement monthly because we want to make sure that the Treasury has a long runway. This creates kind of a system of checks and balances. If we see that people are abusing funds, there are mechanisms for calling early elections. We can vote new people in, and not all is lost. So what was the question that was, is there a way, from Chris, is there a way to view which members have signed up for an upcoming election? Great question. So yes, it's not easy yet, but yes. The easiest thing to see is how many members have opted in. You can see that on the homepage. But no, EdenOS doesn't expose a list of members who are participating. You can go to blocks.io and go to the genesis.eden contract. And I mean, I can show you this here. Let me just pull this up in a new tab. So we'll go to blocks. But maybe this is something we should expose in our UI. It's these types of questions that we are starting to catalog that inform our priorities, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll go to the genesis.eden contract here.
That's why we need your questions.
Yeah.
So I know you 13 people watching. Someone's got the next great question. We're waiting.
So if you go to the genesis.eden contract tables, this is a lot of the information that underpins the UI that you see. And you can tap on member here, put a scope of 0, and then refresh. You see a list of all of our members. We'll load all of those. And in here, you'll see an election participation status and whether who that member is. So 0 is not participating, 1 is participating. So Ami is participating. And see, I said it's not an easy way. You can see we've got 58 people up here.
Chris is apparently already looking under the hood. Yep.
Yeah. The UI can make this easy. That's likely a V03. A V03 thing. What we'd probably do is whenever you go into a member's profile, you'll be able to see whether they're participating or not, just like we already have the ability for you to see if there are delegates and how much they have in their delegation account and things like that. So great question.
Here's one. What's the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow? You ready? Yes. This is don't get it wrong. Yeah, I don't know if you know what happens, but
I know I should know this one, but I'm having to Google this.
The question is appropriately answered with a question. Yeah, African or European?
Okay, there you go. Yes. I like Monty Python, but I've not adequately internalized the script.
It's okay. Just a little comic relief.
Cool. Love it.
You won't be thrown into the pit or the chasm as a result of your
despair.
Yeah. Now you're in Princess Bride territory.
Yeah. All right. 17 new members since the announcement, 20 pending invitations, 58 members opted in so far. Also announced from Even, the EOS Foundation. And again, thank you all for making this possible as a grant to Clarionos, our team, for the work that we've done to date on all of this. And that is a big help for us. So yeah, thank you. Shout out. Guys, if you want to read the announcement, I encourage you to do so if you haven't already. Medium.com/EdenOnEOS. Also on Twitter @EdenOnEOS. You'll find links to the announcement there. And just good resources for you to be aware of anyway, as we do post there periodically.
Here's another question From Chris, is there a plan to make it so EdenOS can be used to spin up other Eden-style groups that simply want to leverage the contracts/UX on EOS, but not really be tied to Eden on EOS?
Yes, yes. So I guess I can answer that in a few different ways. The software is totally and completely open source. So there's nothing special or bespoke or proprietary that we're doing to run this software. Anybody can take and fork our repo on GitHub and spin up their own community. You can rebrand it if you want. It's MIT, and go read the license. But this is for the community, by the community, and yes, you're free to do that. Will there be an easy way to do that? Will there be a push button way to do that? Maybe in the future. We haven't gotten to that level of abstraction yet. More immediately, where we want to go with this, and it's not a V03 thing probably. We need to get an election or two under our belt first, but we want to start spinning up other Eden communities on EOS, right? So we have EdenOnEOS, the first Eden community. It is right now, we'll just say it's a little bit more kind of Western centric, and it's in English, and it's a starting place, right? We've got to start somewhere. But it's really important to us that we and we've got it on our roadmap, that the UI is internationalized, that it's localized, and that we can spin this up in other communities. We're looking at a Chinese Eden on EOS, a Spanish-speaking Eden on EOS, Korean-speaking Eden on EOS, and there may be others beyond there that are hopefully and potentially, getting their own funding from the community, from the block producers, maybe EOS Foundation. I don't want to speak for anybody, but to make sure that that Eden is able to help facilitate the arrival at consensus and the boosting of a voice of everybody wherever they are and wherever they come from, however they're participating. So we're working on that. I know that we've been in touch with some in the Chinese community who are having trouble maybe using Zoom to do the inductions, and that's going to be a problem potentially, right, in the elections as well, and the language barrier. Everything's in English right now, and the elections is going to be a challenge for participants, depending on where you are in your background and language and all of that. So yeah, we've got to start somewhere, and we're doing our best, and we'll get there. But yeah, eventually there may be a push button, right? Spin up your own community. I don't know.
I'm curious on that. So supposing somebody did want to fork the repo and spin up their own Eden, what are the recommended team knowledge requirements for pulling off such an whatever you call that for tackling something of that scale? I mean, it's not for the faint of heart, I presume.
Yeah, get in there and play with it. The more people that see and understand this software, the better. This isn't just a Clarionos thing. This is an open source thing. So if you're interested in something like that, I encourage you to come in and actually start working with us in the repo. Start digging into the code, digging into our backlog. We're looking for people who want to issue PRs and improvements and contribute to the code base. That's a great place to start, whether your end result is that you just want to help the community out, you want to learn something, whether it's in your own coding journey. Maybe you want to get into React, or you want to spin up your own community.
That's kind of what I was wondering about. Like, what would you say? Like I mean, I know you're trying to be inclusive as possible, and anyone can jump in. But what would you say would be the minimum kind of skill set, or like a good working knowledge of which programming languages, or familiarity with,
Sure.
to what extent do you need to be familiar with EOS, IO,
Yeah.
all of it?
I mean, you got to know EOSIO, and you've got to understand smart contracts. You have to be able to write smart contracts. Not necessarily. You could just use the ones we have, but you've got to know how to deploy contracts on EOSIO, and you understand permissions and security, and you got to know EOSIO. You should know or have somebody on your team who has expertise in front end and React specifically, Next.js, right, or at least an interest there. Certainly JavaScript, which underpins those libraries and frameworks. And we have Docker containers, so you need a little bit of DevOps chops to be able to spin up these Docker containers and get those running. I think with those skill sets, you can get fairly far. But the other thing is, if you're going to spin up your own community, how dependent do you want to be on even the Clarionos team to fix issues or provide the features that you need, right? We right now are laser focused on EdenOnEOS, and that's where we're going to put our priorities. So, does that kind of answer the question?
Yeah, it does for me. I mean, I was just trying to get an idea of like the depth of involvement, the depth of experience necessary to pull something like that off, or what sort of team you'd actually need. And I'd imagine some team, if they're sufficiently motivated, could develop in parallel to what y'all are doing, and you could riff off each other and learn from each other. And that'd be the way that we'd get some sort of synergies going too. If there was another team that was adding to the code.
That would be amazing. And I can tell you what's worked for us. Our team composition is, of course, we've got Dan, the visionary and guide of all of this. So Stephen is C++ extraordinaire, and he's worked on EOSIO for quite some time, and a really great smart contract writer. Todd Fleming is a C++ and TypeScript and JavaScript guru. He wrote the EOS.js libraries that you're also so familiar with. And then I'm a front-end developer, React, JavaScript, Next.js, and do some full stack, Node.js. But we've got Sparky, who's a full stack. He can do some contract C++ work, a lot of React work, etc. Mike Manfredi, full stack front end. So, we've got a good mix of, and we've got a UX, Thomas Hallgren, an amazing UX and UI guy as well. So a nice diverse team, but just a good mix of full stack front end and contract and UI, UX, and vision. Those are kind of the ingredients that round out, I think, any full stack team that delivers on software like this regularly.
So not trivial, but
not trivial.
but doable. I've got a stack of questions and comments now, so let me just throw a few at you. I just found one from Josh on that. He says, I think what Chris is really asking is how soon can we easily take over, he corrected himself later, the world by impregnating it with Edens everywhere. So this is a legit question. He's hungry.
How soon? Yeah. How soon? Why wait? Why wait? like we've already said on this call, this isn't just an Eden thing. It's not just a technology thing. It's not an EOS thing, right? That's what I meant to say. It's not a blockchain thing. We have right now an incredible opportunity to bring this, this engine for coming to consensus to EOS, which is ripe for it. It needs it. So that's why we're here. That's why we're building EdenOnEOS first. But guys, we can do fractal governance, Eden, anywhere. Go find a social club that needs a better way of coming to consensus, or just wants to try it out. Go convince them, or go find a church that wants to try this out for their leadership, or start a parallel government in your town. Create a club that you can do this with a deck of playing cards. All you have to be able to do is come together, agree to abide by the outcome of it, agree to the ground rules, distribute more equal animals so you have as many people participating, has this in their DNA as possible, and get 1,000 people in your town, or 10,000, who will vote according to the results of the Eden election, or 10,000 people in your town of 100,000. I think that's something, Joshua, you said, you brought up before that I thought was really good, is you can do this now in your communities and start impacting even, our day-to-day governance out in the wild with this. Wouldn't it be so cool to see somebody see Eden, fractal governance take over like a school board, or dude, school boards would be an awesome use case for it. Get all the parents together and do hierarchical fractal governance, and then put your votes, vote according to the outcome of your Eden election, and change a school.
Yep.
It'd be really cool. So how soon until you can do it?
Start today.
Now.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the first. I'm waiting for the first small city to have this process sort of happen to them, because like you said, it's gonna be a parallel thing initially. You're not going to just walk in and get some town to adopt this. So you're going to have to do a grassroots, bottom up, process in parallel, and then elect your candidate through the process, or candidates through the process. And then now you've got this groundswell of people underneath to actually, you can leverage that to basically, I try not to use the word takeover, but the existing governance, in wherever you are. So it's all eminently doable.
We can call it a peaceful transfer of power.
Peace. Thank you. A peaceful transfer of power. That's what I meant to say. All right. Before I get deplatformed, let's see here. Maybe this question is too early, but when will the next election after the one in October take place? Is there a schedule for elections, or will this be dependent upon the amount of EOS in the treasury?
So great question, and not too early. The way it works is, by default, at the conclusion of the first election, a next election is scheduled 6 months after, I think it's the conclusion of the prior election. So you will see that there is always an election coming up and scheduled every 6 months. But there are a few circumstances where those election dates can be brought forward no sooner than 30 days out. Okay, so I believe, and we need to. I need to go back and confirm this, so don't quote me, but I think once we've hit 1,000 people, then every 10% growth of the community, a new election is scheduled 30 days out. So hopefully after this next election, it won't be 6 months before the next one, but it'll be sometime between 1 and 6 months out, because the community starts growing so rapidly. If the Satoshi, or what we're calling the head chief, right, the winner at the top of the hierarchy, were to step down, a new election would be scheduled 30 days out, etc. There's also a mechanism that we're going to be working on that is like a vote of no confidence, where a new election can be called early also. But yeah, de facto every 6 months. It wouldn't be based, at least we're not really looking into basing it on the amount in the treasury, because the algorithm for our treasury really is there should always be money. Every month we'll distribute 5% of the treasury. So if the treasury starts running low, the 5% is always just a smaller and smaller piece of it. It's kind of on a curve there. So yeah, we have a mechanism for keeping the treasury hopefully fairly stable over time. And of course, right, every year annually, more member dues will be coming into the community in the form of annual membership renewals. So the community is self-funding to a degree, but we do need to grow the community.
You got that?
Yes.
I don't understand. Hopefully there will be video playback with Chinese subtitles. And maybe, can you hear this? If I play audio, because I can't pronounce this, but
it's not coming through for me at least.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce. I can never pronounce Chinese very well, but we'll try to do that. So
we're working on it, and it's still early in the game, but we want to be doing a better job of serving all the various parts of the EOS community out there. And of course, the Chinese speaking community is a really important part of the EOS community. So we're working on doing better in that regard.
I put a response in the comments since I cannot pronounce Chinese Mandarin. Let's see. Troy, when the Chinese Eden community starts to do the current Chinese do the current Chinese members need to choose which Eden to participate in, or can people be in multiple Eden communities at once?
So optimally, you'll want to choose which Eden community to be a part of. You should only be in one Eden community at a time that is receiving funds from EOS, right? One EdenOnEOS Eden community at a time. So optimally, right? When when the Chinese community stands up and they start getting funding, then a member who wants to be a part of that community will resign from the Genesis community to join that community. And there can be consequences in the future, right, for not doing so. If you participate in 2 EdenOnEOS elections, that's kind of considered double dipping, and will not be looked at kindly in the eyes of the community.
For sure. I just noticed from Gracie Lau, who's a Eden member, she says that
they great.
have a real-time translation in the Chinese Eden members WeChat group. So
that's excellent. That's wonderful. Well, hello to our friends. Yeah, 谢谢. and ni hao to all of the friends, all of our friends in the Chinese community, and welcome. We're glad that you're here.
Absolutely. Apologize if this has already been addressed. Why doesn't the Treasury show the EOS Foundation funds in the members portal?
Yeah, good question. The funds have not yet been transferred to the community treasury. So we've been in the process of updating the permissions on the contract to make sure that there's more of a robust multi-sig in place, and just preparing for that. You know, there are other implications that they're working through, but those funds will be there before the election.
Dario says, hi guys, just wanted to say a big thank you for the awesome work you guys do with Eden. It's already changing my life for the better now when it's not even released. Keep up the good work.
That is amazing to hear. Thank you, Dario, for those kind words. And it's really cool to be, it's changed my life for the better, for sure. And it's really cool to hear that it's doing that for people in the community.
Here's another one from Chris, who is not shy. Are we getting updated bylaws in advance of the election on October 9th?
Good question.
Mm-hmm.
I will, yeah, we'll talk to, let me talk to the team about that and see if we can get those updated. We do have a mechanism for updating those bylaws. So. Yes. The member portal, it's, you know, I was talking earlier. So Jesse says feature requests, search function in members portal. We do need that sorely. And the member portal is another example of areas where there's so much need for, it's ripe for improvement. For instance, we have kind of two lists in there, new members and then all members, and we can collapse that into one list. And there's a lot that we want to do to improve the members portal, including search functionality. Things like when you're inviting new people, you have to enter in witness EOS account names instead of real names, while we have access to real names. And you know, part of that is just we've been moving fast and furious. And so some of those niceties, we just haven't taken the time yet. We've prioritized other functionality, right? But another part of it is that we have been, it's not easy creating a highly efficient smart contract that is a good steward of shared blockchain resources, and also making it easy for a front end to work with those queries and tables and all of that. That's been a challenge for us. So with Todd Fleming's new, you know, kind of, I've been calling it a blocks to browser technology, a state derivation engine, a lot of those possibilities are opening up to us and becoming easier. So yes, things like that are on the horizon, including search functionality. Maybe they're a little over the horizon, but they're on the radar, we'll say. Thank you.
Cool. I don't know if you have more slides, but I just temporarily got rid of that.
It's fine.
Okay. Joshua says, should the peace treaty and bylaws be displayed on the member portal?
Yes, they should. They should. So right now we have a link to them on the member portal in the footer. You can click, and it takes you to our Notion page where you can see the bylaws and peace treaty. Which that reminds me, we should make sure on each of those Notion pages that we have a link to the translations as well. An easy way to get to those translations, because all of those things are translated into, I think, Chinese, Korean, and Spanish. But no, we want to start bringing all this information into the member portal. So right now we've been focusing in the member portal on sheer functionality. but a lot of the content and the copy and the friendly language that you normally see has not been prioritized. That's changing. We're starting to do that. So we've got UI that brings it in. We just haven't coded it up and deployed it yet.
All right. Did you write that down? All those notes? You got that all in your, all those updates, improvements, and feature requests?
Yeah, a lot of these things we actually have backlogged. Yeah.
Cool. Here's another one for you. Let's see. Not intended to encourage scope creep, but it almost sounds like the UI of Eden is shaping up to be a de facto social network. Any plans for this to evolve into something akin to what voice was to be? Dun, 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 dun.
No comment. No, I'm just kidding. We don't say no comment. Yeah, our team came together, Clarionos, to make Clarion. And we definitely see Eden and Clarion at least having a lot of overlap. Clarion is a social network that's highly peer-to-peer. Things kind of pushed out to the edge. And we think Eden is a very big part of that. How exactly Eden and Clarion come together, fractal governance and a social network, how those things marry, is yet to be seen. But the answer is probably yes. This becomes much more of a social experience.
Probably yes. All right, we'll take it. I think it's the logical evolution, personally.
Something that we're definitely discussing, talking about, and work on, or early work, but important foundational work on Clarion is already underway.
Cool. I've reached the bottom of the questions currently. We're at 1 hour and 2 minutes in, but we started 5 minutes late. Any other stuff in your mind today that you want to share with the community, or?
I don't think so. We've gotten through the slide deck and really great questions from everybody. Man, it's good to be a part of this community. Keep up the good work, inviting people. And we're a little over 3 weeks out from the big election. So guys, get your slide decks ready, get your pitches ready, and it's going to be really cool.
Wow, you just blew my mind right there. I don't think I've been really thinking about how close October 9th is. That's really close. So
yeah,
brace yourselves. Any other big surprises or exciting developments between now and October 9th? We're going to be on one more time then. So you'll have another chance to blow our minds before the election. And
there could be other surprises and announcements. I don't know. On the dev front, I'll say that we're really in hardening, tweaking. We're in tweaking, polishing, and testing and hardening mode right now, just to make sure that everything goes smoothly on the 9th. I will say, we're starting to collect these frequently asked questions, and we want to put these directly in our UI. We've got a spot for them in our designs, and just haven't exposed that yet. One that people have found to, people have got to be asking how much time they've got to dedicate on October 9th to the elections. And I haven't heard many people ask that question. Right now, with 58 participants, we're looking at 3 election rounds. So we'll have one, D1, which is delegate one election round. That's the first round. You'll be divided up into groups of 4, maybe 5 people. That lasts for 1 hour. And then as long as 12 of those groups or more, as long as more than 12 of those groups come to consensus, you'll have a second round where you're divided up into 4 or more people. And that's also an hour long. So that's 2 hours. And then you'll have the third kind of chief delegate pseudo round, where you see all of the winners of the D2 round, that second round, and they're all just sitting there while we in the community are capturing Bitcoin block headers and feeding those into our provably cryptographically verifiable randomizer.
Yeah. Yep.
I feel bad for our Chinese translator or Chinese interpreters right now.
Oh, geez.
But we're feeding that in the contract, right? Preparing our engine, our sortition or our randomizer engine to select one as the head chief, as the new Satoshi. And that lasts 2 hours. So, depending on how many rounds you participate, you'll be here for, we ask that you come early, be prepared, be 30 minutes to an hour early to the election. I'm trying to think, is there anything else? We'll have more guidance on that. So anywhere from 2 hours to 6 hours, right, is how long this is probably gonna take on Saturday.
Right, with some time on the front end and the back end. If you actually go 6 hours, you're probably going to be, busy afterwards too for a little while. Okay, I have a question that I forgot I was meaning to ask. Is there some way we can collect emails in the EdenOS system without exposing those emails to the blockchain, just for the purposes of being able to reach the membership? Because it seems odd that we're not using email, which is kind of the standard way for people to receive, announcements or updates or invites and stuff like that. Yeah,
we're such a Telegram-centric community, right now. Let me talk more with the team. We could always add them to members' profiles and they could become people's Eden emails, but maybe that's not optimal. People are starting to use new email addresses for different purposes. We're trying not to have databases that are not chain oriented. But maybe there is a marketing list, right? It's not integral to the running of EdenOS that we could start. So something we can look into. Yeah, something provisional until until there's a communication system that usurps email. Clarion OS. But in the meanwhile, it might just be really handy. One other question from from Troy. Would a more equal animals knowledge quiz, multiple choice, be of value to how members grok the concepts, not to punt members, but to encourage reading of book or summaries so we do not lose our DNA? I think that's a really interesting idea. We ask people to agree to our bylaws and our peace treaty when they join. And, I don't think that officially reading More Equal Animals is a prerequisite to joining the community. But I think that if we're doing our job right as members, as people who are inviting others, that we will want to make sure that the people that we're inviting into the community understand the concepts that underpin our community, which really do come from More Equal Animals. So I think it's something that we should entertain and discuss as a community, right? The community is going to have mechanisms for introducing new bylaws, and a quiz or something like that could become a bylaw in and of itself. So something to discuss for sure.
Yeah, and that's a good segue before we sign off. Every Friday, we're doing an 11-week series. We'll probably turn it into a 12-week series on more equal animals, where we're trying to sort of distill the essence of each chapter. So we're doing about 20 pages at a go. It's been pretty interesting so far. If anyone's tuned in and actually watched the whole thing, I'm mad respect for listening to all that. It's a lot of rambling, but I think it's pretty insightful at times. And yeah, our goal is to try and kind of distill the principles from the book into a more accessible kind of intro level, material. Then maybe someone would move on from there to read the entire book, More Equal Animals, get more involved and stuff. But yeah, maybe it's just like a little pamphlet or something like that could help people get into the nuts and bolts of it all. So check that out if you're interested in doing deep dives into More Equal Animals. This will be the third week. So anyway, we're 4 chapters into the book now. So feel free to join us, but know that we're working on trying to distill that text into a more accessible pamphlet type format. And yeah, thanks for being here. Oh, and are we going to get you on one of these Fridays? Do you have a Friday you can spare?
Yeah, I'd love to join. Probably after our
After
election.
the election.
Yeah, we're so laser focused right now on just making sure that everything is set.
And do you plan to run in the election, or do any Clarion EdenOS members plan to run?
We do. We plan to run. We will certainly be running, and we'll have platforms and all of that for sure.
Very cool. All right.
Yeah.
What
about you?
I think I better. Yeah.
Should. Yeah. You better.
Got some ideas. I can't just stand on the sidelines.
Yeah, good. I'm glad. Well, hey, Lovejoy, as always, thank you for facilitating this and being such a great host. Really appreciate it. Thank you to all of you that joined. Thanks to the interpreters. That's so cool that that the Chinese community is following along as well. So thanks to all of you for being a part of this too. And yeah.
Thanks to everyone that you just mentioned, especially the interpreters. I'm amazed and super excited that that's happening. So until next time, we'll see y'all probably on Telegram. We'll see you on the blockchain.
See you on the blockchain.
Ciao.